Kevin De Bruyne was abandoned by his foster family, his girlfriend cheated on him with his teammate, and at his lowest point, his manager threw him out of the club as the media labeled him a flop. But despite a life of rejection, Kevin refused to quit and managed to become one of the greatest football players ever. So, how did Kevin go from reject to football superstar? This is the full story of Kevin De Bruyne.
What can this guy not do? Lifted back towards De Bruyne! Absolute belter from Kevin De Bruyne. There is no stopping that. There's no one quite like him.
On the 28th of June 1991, Kevin De Bruyne was born. He grew up in a small town in Belgium called Drongen, where he had quite a normal life, but as a child, he only had one thing on his mind, and that was football. Growing up, Kevin always used to play football in the garden and would end up breaking pot after pot. Because of this, Kevin's parents didn't allow him to use his right foot in the garden anymore. This would prove to be instrumental for Kevin, as today, his ability to play with both feet is something that sets him apart from even most pro players. At 6 years of age, Kevin joined his local football academy, where he would quickly establish himself as the best player. Now, Kevin was a very shy kid, but when it came to football, he wasn't afraid to speak his mind. He would often get frustrated and shout at the other kids because they just weren't at his level. De Bruyne knew that he needed to be around better players, so at just 8 years old, Kevin signed for the Ghent Academy, which was the best football club around his hometown. Kevin spent 6 years at Ghent, where the same thing happened. Kevin was clearly the best player, and Kevin was very unhappy with the quality of his teammates. Shy and weird off the pitch, but loud and angry on the pitch. So, when the best football club in Belgium knocked on his door, Kevin just couldn't refuse. So at 14 years old, Kevin moved to the other side of the country by himself to join the Ghent Academy, where life would start to get very tough for the kid. Kevin De Bruyne describes the first 2 years he spent at Genk as the loneliest years of his life. Because Kevin was still a kid, the Genk Academy had organized a foster family for Kevin to stay with during the season. Now, remember, Kevin was a shy kid, so he would always keep to himself. He had no troubles in school. He just put his head down and focused on football. When this year came to an end, Kevin was happy. He said goodbye to his foster parents, and they told him that they would see him soon. Kevin returned home for the summer, and his parents greeted him with a disappointed look on their faces. "What's wrong?" Kevin asked. Kevin's parents told him that the foster family didn't want him back. Kevin was confused and asked, "Why is this happening?" But then he would hear 6 words that would stay with him forever. "It's because of who you are." The foster family didn't want Kevin back because he was too quiet. He was weird and difficult to handle. Kevin felt betrayed. And because of this, he had no family to stay with in the next season, and to make matters even worse, the foster parents told the club he was a troubled kid, so they refused to pay for a new foster family for Kevin to stay with. Kevin was sent to a boarding school. But this wasn't a normal boarding school. This was a boarding school for troubled kids. Kevin would remember those 6 words. It's because of who you are. And as you will see time and time again from Kevin, he turned this anger and rejection into fuel and motivation. He promised his parents that within 2 months of returning, he would make it into the Genk first team. In his first month back, Kevin was placed on the bench in a youth match, and this is when everything changed. At halftime, he was subbed on, and with the words of the foster family ringing in his head, he unleashed all his anger and pain. And to quote Kevin directly, 1 goal, they don't want you anymore. 2 goals, too quiet. 3 goals, too difficult. 4 goals, they don't want you anymore. 5 goals, because of who you are. I scored 5 goals in 1 half. This was the turning point for Kevin, as this performance resulted in a first team call-up. He kept his promise to his parents with a couple days to spare. After this, something strange happened. The foster parents who didn't want Kevin came back to say that the whole situation was a misunderstanding. They realized that Kevin was a star in the making, and they regretted their decision. Now, this would become a recurring theme in Kevin's life. He'd get rejected, he would turn the pain into fuel, and the rejecter would live to regret their decision. Kevin simply told the foster parents, "No, you threw me in the garbage. Now I'm doing well, you want me back?" Kevin was finally on track to achieving his dream. He had become a professional football player. In May of 2009, Kevin De Bruyne made his first team debut for Genk, where he'd spend the next couple years of his career. With each season that passed, Kevin just kept getting better and better. In 2011, De Bruyne helped this Genk team to win the Belgian Pro League for only the third time in the club's history. He did this alongside his teammate and friend Thibaut Courtois. At this time, Kevin also started dating a girl named Caroline, but these two people would go on to betray Kevin in the worst way possible. But we'll get to that soon. For now, things were looking great for Kevin. He had also made his debut for the Belgian national team in a friendly match against Finland. This was the start of Belgium's golden generation, with a squad full of talents like De Bruyne, Hazard, and compagnie. But most importantly, at this time, Kevin was finally happy and was regarded as one of the best young talents in Europe. This saw many of Europe's top clubs come knocking for his signature, but in the end, he opted for a £7 million move to Chelsea, where he signed a 5-year contract. Kevin was seen as the next Frank Lampard, as the Chelsea fans hoped he would be able to take over from the legend himself. The plan for De Bruyne was that he would go straight out on loan in his first season to get first-team action. So for the 2012-13 season, Kevin went on loan to Werder Bremen in the Bundesliga. In this season, De Bruyne picked up 10 goals and 9 assists, which was the best tally to date. He also won the Bundesliga Young Player of the Year award, as he was a standout performer throughout the entire season. As this season came to an end, Kevin returned to Chelsea and was going to be loaned out again because many German clubs wanted to get their hands on him. But Chelsea had a new manager in town called Jose Mourinho, who called Kevin and simply told him, "You're staying. I want you to be a part of this team." Kevin remained at Chelsea, but little did he know that his whole life was about to fall apart both on and off the pitch. Kevin De Bruyne and his girlfriend Caroline had been together for 3 years when Caroline decided to take an unexpected trip to Madrid. In Madrid, Kevin's friend and international teammate Thibaut Courtois met up with his girlfriend, and they had an affair together. To make matters even worse, Caroline took to an interview to say, "That evening, Thibaut offered me what I had not received from a 3-year relationship with Kevin." When this all happened, Kevin felt betrayed. His teammate and his love both betrayed him. The Belgian coach spoke to Kevin about this and gave him the opportunity to ban Courtois from the national team, but Kevin had mercy. He decided to keep a professional relationship with him despite what had just happened. He would eventually get his revenge against Thibaut, but more on that later. This situation sent Kevin into a dark place, which affected his performances on the pitch. One morning in December, Jose Mourinho called Kevin into his office, where he told Kevin 1 assist, 0 goals, 10 recoveries. Jose then started to read off the stats of the other midfielders in the Chelsea team, and this is when Kevin realized he had no future at Chelsea. He was no longer in Mourinho's plans. Within a couple weeks, Kevin was sold to Wolfsburg in the Bundesliga, where things looked bleak. Kevin had been hurt before, but never this bad. This was an all-time low, as his girlfriend left him for his teammate, and his manager sold him for not being good enough. But this was just fuel for Kevin. He took the pain and turned it into energy, as he was about to make a career comeback. So halfway through the 2013-14 season, at 22 years old, Kevin landed in Wolfsburg angry and ready to prove everyone wrong. He quickly adapted to their style of play and started to rebuild his confidence. He said this period in Wolfsburg is where everything changed, not just on the pitch, but off the pitch too, because this is when he met his future wife. He saw this girl liking his tweets and wanted to send her a message, but was too scared, so his friend just took his phone and sent the message for him. Kevin just needed that push to get out of his shell, and just like that, he met the love of his life. With life turning around for Kevin, he pushed on to the next season with Wolfsburg with magic in his boots. He finished the season with 16 goals and 28 assists, breaking the Bundesliga assist record. Wolfsburg finished second in the Bundesliga, also winning the German Cup. Kevin De Bruyne was so impressive this year that he was named as the Bundesliga Player of the Season. This stellar season from Kevin saw Manchester City come knocking on his door. Kevin wanted to give the Premier League another go, so he signed for Man City at 24 years old and for a total of £55 million. The English media claimed it was a waste of money for a Chelsea reject, but yet again, Kevin was ready to prove the doubters wrong. His first season got off to a great start where he was scoring big goals in big games, but halfway through the season, in a game against Everton, he suffered a bad knee injury which would see him out for a couple of months. At this same time, his now wife was 8 months pregnant with his first child. Kevin felt helpless because he was on crutches and couldn't help her, but they managed to get through, and Kevin now says that this was a key moment in his life where he found something more important than football, and that was his family. But of course, Kevin returned to football as he recovered from the injury, and he returned with a bang, scoring on his first game back. This first season with Man City was a strong one for Kevin. He had returned to the Premier League and proved that he was good enough. As the season ended, Pep Guardiola was announced as the new Man City manager, as a new dynasty was about to begin in the Premier League. The first time Pep and De Bruyne spoke, Pep told him, "Kevin, listen, you can be easily a top 5 player in the world. Top 5, easily." This was a new feeling for Kevin because for the first time in his career, he didn't have to prove someone wrong. He didn't have to fight rejection or use anger as fuel. Now he had a manager who really believed in him, and all he had to do was prove him right. The 16-17 season was a foundational one for Pep and Man City, but Kevin was on fire, scoring 7 and bagging 21 assists for the season. No major trophies, but he finished 14th in the Ballon d'Or. This meant Kevin was the 14th best player in the world. This was good, but not top 5. In the 2017-18 season, Man City took over the Premier League, finishing with a record-breaking 100 points. Kevin was an integral part of this team, chipping in with 12 goals and 21 assists. This year also saw Belgium reach a record 3rd place finish in the World Cup. This was the peak of this Belgian generation of stars. Many think that the team could have and should have won a major trophy, but clearly something was off in this team. It might be down to the fact that teammates sleep with each other's girlfriends, but still, this was a great achievement for Kevin and Belgium. This year saw Kevin finish 9th in the Ballon d'Or, just 4 spots away from proving Pep right. 18-19 was a tougher year for Kevin as he suffered another big injury, leaving him out for a large portion of the season, although he still picked up a domestic treble, winning the Premier League and the 2 cup competitions. In 2020, Kevin missed out on the Premier League, but still wrote his name in history by recording 20 Premier League assists in a single season. This meant he equaled the record that was held by Thierry Henry, proving that he was one of the greatest playmakers to ever play the game. He was also named as the Premier League Player of the Season, meaning he was factually the best player in England, but because of COVID, this year's Ballon d'Or was cancelled, so we couldn't really track Kevin's world ranking position. But don't worry, because the year after, in 2021, he finished 8th in the Ballon d'Or, the 8th best player in the world. That's great, but not top 5. Now, 2022, another Premier League came City's way as Kevin contributed with 19 goals and 15 assists. Kevin was named the Premier League Player of the Season, and more importantly, Kevin placed 3rd in the Ballon d'Or ranking. He was officially the 3rd best player in the world. He proved Pep right. He was great, but once wasn't enough for Kevin because in 2023 he placed 3rd in the Ballon d'Or once again, but this season was bigger than that. He completed the historic treble with Manchester City by winning the Premier League, the Champions League, and the FA Cup. He wrote his name in footballing history. And one more important thing happened this season. In the build-up to the Champions League final, Man City faced Real Madrid, meaning Kevin De Bruyne faced Thibaut Courtois, and in the first leg, Kevin got his revenge. He also was instrumental in a 4-0 win in the second leg, but I'm just seeing some sweet justice in that first leg wonder goal. But now, here we are. 2024, Kevin De Bruyne is 32 years old. He's won countless trophies both individually and as a team. He's overcome the rejection of his foster family, the betrayal of his teammate, proved everyone who doubted him wrong, and proved everyone who stuck by him right. He's undoubtedly one of the greatest players to ever play the game, and he's still in his prime, so I'm sure he's going to continue writing his name in the history of football. Now, if you like the story of De Bruyne, you will definitely like this video too. Don't doubt me like everyone doubted Kevin. Click it!